Hello everyone, welcome back again. Today we are required to write a function that takes in an array of numbers with some positive and negative values. We are required to determine whether there exists a subarray in the original array whose net sum is 0 or not. Let's take an example of array containing the elements a1, a2, a3 so on up to an. Subarray is nothing but the consecutive elements in the array of some length. So A1, A2, A3 is a subarray or A6, A7 is a subarray. Consider this array containing the elements 1, minus 2, 1, 3, 4 and minus 6. As you can see, the sum of the first three elements is 0. That is 1 plus 1 is 2 and 2 minus 2 is 0. So our function should return true for this particular array. In this video, we will use two approaches to solve this. The first one is little bit complicated but can be used for similar questions like this, and the second one is very simple and can be used for this only. So in first approach, the first thing we have to do is get the all subarrays of the original array of different sizes. So let's say the subarrays of two elements is a1, a2, a2, a3 and so on. The subarrays of three elements are a1, a2, a3, a2, a3, a4 and a3, a4, a5. So we will generate all the subarrays in size range of 1 to n minus 1. As you can see, in these subarrays, the first column elements are a1, a2, a3 up to so on the size of the subarray. The first thing we can do to produce the subarray is use for loop to get the first element, and the other two elements we can use another for loop inside this first for loop by using n. N is the size of the subarray, like 2, 3, 4, something like that. So the first for loop will go from 0 to the length of the array, and the second for loop will go through 0 to the size of the subarray. And if you take an empty array and push the original array of I plus j, the array will be the subarray of n size. Let's create a helper function sum which sums up all the elements in the given array. Function sum, let r equals to 0, we go through all the elements in the array and add it to the r and return the r. Let's try this. As you can see, sum of 1, 3, 4 is 8. Let's create another function, that is subarray, which takes an array and the size of the subarrays that we want. As you remember earlier, we used two for loops to generate the subarrays of n size. The first one goes from 0 to the length of the array, and the second one goes from 0 to the size of the subarray. Let's make an array to store all our subarrays. So S arrays equals to empty array, S arrays of I equals to empty array as well. So as we go through the second loop, we push array of I plus j to these subarrays. Let's test this. Console.log subarray of test array and size 3. Let's create a test array equals to 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. We get undefined because we not return the S arrays by the n in that subarray function. Return S arrays. We can expect arrays of size 3. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5 and 4, 5 undefined. We don't need that because we can't check those arrays with undefined values. So we push the values only if it is not undefined. So we will get 4, 5, that's it. We get 4, 5, no undefined. But that is not useful either, so we just remove the array and replace it with null. As you can see, 3, 4 elements are null. At this point, we pretty much have everything to solve the problem. If the subarray is not null, that means all the elements in the subarray is some number we console.log the sum of that subarray. As you can see, 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6, 2 plus 3 plus 4 is 9. Rather than returning S array, we return false by the end, because we return true if there is a subarray with some 0 in the middle. If sum of arrays is 0, we return true, or else we return false. As you can see, we get the true. But if we change the values of the array so that the sub of two size subarrays is 0, that is 1 and minus 1 is 0, this won't work, because we only check in the subarrays of 3 size. If we change it to 2, it will return true. So let's create a final function. We check all the subarrays of all sizes. Function sub 0, which takes an array. We have to check the sizes from 1 to n minus 1. So let's create a for loop going through 1 to n minus 1, array.length minus 1. So let's call our subarray function in this loop for checking all the sizes, that is I. This will return true or false. If we return true in any size, we return true for this function, or by the end of this function we return false. That means no subarrays are there for this condition. Return false. If we run this, we get true, even though we don't have any subarrays of 0 sum. That's because we are checking these subarrays from 0 size. If we checking from the subarrays from 0 size, we always get true. As you can see in the question, it is written that of size at least 1. So you have to check from the size 1 to n minus 1. Let's try this. We get false, cool. And if we change the array, like 5 to 9, 5 plus 4 is 9 and 9 minus 9 is 0, we get true. Cool. This is one approach. This is a little bit complicated because this can be used for another similar questions like this. And the second approach is very simple. This uses a simple logic to solve this, and we can't use this method for like different questions like find a subarray with the sum is divisible by k, something like that. This approach follows that we sum all the elements in the array, like 6 plus 1 is 7, 6 plus 1 plus 4 is 11, 6 plus 1 plus 4 minus 5 is 6. Here we go, 6 is repeated twice. That's one of the conditions this logic works. If there is a repeated number or we get the 0, that means there exists a subarray with 0 sum. Actually, we don't have to memorize the way this works, because we have the 6 at the first and we get the 6 again. We get repeated value only when the middle elements are 0. As you can see, 1 plus 4 minus 5 is 0. 5 minus 5 is 0. We get the repeated value only when the subarray that exists between the first repeated value and the second repeated value is 0. So let's start writing the code now. For the second approach, we have an array of 6, 1, 4, 5 as elements. Let's create a function 0 sum, which takes an array. Let sum equals to 0. We iterate through all the elements in the array and add it to the sum. Right after we add it to the sum, we push the elements, we add the elements to a set. You know, set is a data structure which is identical to an array, but the only difference is we can't have duplicate values in a set. You will see, let's create a set equals to new set dot add sum. So we adding sum to the set every time the for loop runs. So we will have the set of size, the length of the array, right? So in case if the set size is not equal to the array length, that means there exists a duplicate value and there exists a subarray of with the 0 sum.